Hi everybody, welcome back to the Comfrey Kingdom. What we want to run you through today, we cut all the comfrey, remember that we showed you last video? And we had let it seed out. And so what we want to do is just show you what happens when you let your common comfrey seed out and the seeds are viable. It's not the Russian or the Bocking 14, but I want to show you the benefits of letting it do so. If you look down here, all these little babies, look at them all. It's just incredible. And lift that leaf up. They're just everywhere. They just seeded out, you know. And if we come over here, now these ones here, these babies, they seeded out a little bit sooner than the other ones, but do you see how lanky the stems are? You do not want to use this kind of comfrey or this young of comfrey in any kind of herbal remedy or any kind of oil, tincture, whatever. It's too young of a plant, okay? And that's per Dr. Christopher. What you want to use is, if you come over here, it's like this plant right here. This is about the perfect size of what you want to use. And I use the roots and the leaves, but that's a good established plant. There may be actually 10 or 15 plants right here. And same right here. It's pretty established. Like this one might be a year or two old, but these are 3 or 4 years old. And so that's what you want to use for your herbal remedies. And then I want to show you the conglomeration of these babies over here. It's just phenomenal. Go ahead and show. This is the first that we cut the comfrey, so it's been exposed more to sunlight. After you cut you saw how big everything was. It was just covering everything, so the seeds weren't really getting germinated until, you know, we cut the plants back, and now they're just exploding. And so now we're gonna let Tiffany take you on your garden tour.
Hi. Okay, come with me. Okay, I believe this was in the last video, and I was boasting about growing it in wood ash, but this plant is pretty much spent.
It just went off.
Just touch it. This plant is pretty much spent, but you see all the spaghetti squash. These are angel hair spaghetti squash, so they're going to be smaller than your standard version of regular spaghetti squash, and they're yellow, and I believe they're ready to be harvested, but because of the heat and everything, it's ready, it's done. So what we're thinking we're going to do is we're going to harvest these squash, and then we're going to let the bed rest for a little bit, and then we're going to plant some more, and it'll be more in the cool weather, and it'll probably produce a lot better. Because squashes do not like direct sun, I'm noticing, and I'll show you some that are shaded and they're doing much better. And then over here we have our cucumbers, which I'll be perfectly honest with you, we've grown cucumbers every year and they've never lasted this long, because if you grow cucumbers, you know that when it starts getting really, really hot and humid, and we're here in the south and it does that they really get irritated. You'll see the leaves are yellowing and the bugs are starting to come, but they are really producing well, and I attribute it to, one is that our compost has a lot of wood ash in it this year. It's the first year that we really threw a lot of our wood ash from our wood stove that we burned all winter long into our compost, and they're thriving more than they ever have. And I'm happy about it, but they are starting to get angry now, which is fine. We're still getting many cucumbers. It's not to the point where they're not producing. And as you see, we have some here that get too large, and we have plenty of cucumbers that get too large, and we pick them and we feed them to our sheep, which absolutely love it, or our chickens. So they're not wasted. We get plenty. You can't eat this many cucumbers, and we do want to make pickles, but we're not doing that right now, so we're just eating the cucumbers every day. And then these are the squashes, which we grow squash every year and they get destroyed by bugs, but these are they just keep going because they're shaded. When the sun comes up, the cucumbers actually shade these squash plants, and they've never lasted this long. That one needs to be harvested, but they've never lasted this long in the heat. And then we have Thai basil that comes up every year because it's volunteer, and we love that in teas. It's awesome. It's the best tea you'll ever drink. But I've noticed that the shading of the cucumbers on these squash plants really help it out. So that's something to think about.
You want to tell them about azomite?
Yes, I water it with, whenever it rains really hard, then it washes out a lot of the nutrients in the soil. And we do have wood chips, which constantly feeds it, but it does wash out a lot of the nutrients. So I like to put a fertilizer on it. We put Comfrey, we put azomite, and I do fish emulsion as well. That's what's in this bucket right here, is a mixture of that. And I water them, you know, periodically with that. And I think that helps keep them alive as well. So you gotta just like nurture it if you want it to stay alive, especially if you're in the humid, hot South. And so now we'll move over here. Get our zinnias. Look at that. Those zinnias are beautiful. Those little short ones right there. Gorgeous. Always plant flowers with your vegetables because it brings in the pollinators. We have one of our asparagus gardens. We actually have 3. I like to plant everything. And
how old is this? Look at that.
Yeah,
stuff.
this is we got 2-year asparaguses, and I planted them last year, and we didn't pick any from this year. And these suckers were so big. They were humongous. And they're still producing asparagus.
Look at all these seeds coming.
Yeah, that's the male plant. They're still producing asparagus. So they're going to do, we'll be able to pick them next year, and they'll do phenomenal. And then here's our tomatoes. Look at all this. I didn't realize some of these tomatoes are on these guys because I've been in the back with the tomatoes.
There's another garden, tomato garden in the back, and we'll get to it in another video.
It's way better than this one.
Yeah.
But
anyway, this one's doing great.
Doused with Comfrey.
Yeah.
Compost tea. And look at all the tomatoes.
Over the years, after a few years, yeah.
We are having an issue with tomato hornworms this year, but that's fine. You always
look at all them tomatoes on there.
And these are all from seeds that I saved from last year, these plants, which is the first time. Oh, he's got one blushing.
Yeah.
This one's kind of spindly. I mean, you're gonna have that, you know, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
You ready for a flip?
We're going to the orchard, guys.
Okay. So this is what we've done. The comfrey that we cut, of course, we made comfrey compost tea in those blue barrels you saw, and we moved them to the garden so they were more accessible, easily accessible. But what we did with a lot of the comfrey was we just cut it with the seeds in it, and we dropped it around the orchard. And that was the whole purpose of seeding it out in the first place, is so I could get comfrey growing in my orchard. Okay, and you can see some of it's still fresh, but it's been laid out, and a lot of it has seeds. Okay, and so what we're hoping is, instead of having to transplant the babies that we showed you in the beginning of the video, is that these seeds will just start growing out here. And it's perfect because your chop and drop provides a like a mulching situation for the seeds. And whether it might take a year, I don't know, we'll show you. It's just an idea. But if not, I got the babies and I can transplant them. But I want this orchard just filled with comfrey. And so this is my first major big attempt at it, and not a lazy way, but most
no,
efficient.
it's a smart way.
Yeah,
You're mulching it, you're feeding it nutrients, and you're also
the least
dropping
work
the
involved.
seeds,
You know.
seeds to grow plants.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it.
We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching.